Hi guys, and welcome back. So for this session, I only want to introduce you to Inscape because we did promise that we'll have some free software as alternatives to Adobe. I'm not going to spend a lot of time inside the software itself. It's purely so that you can see what it is, where you can find it, where you can find some tutorials, and so forth. So the previous session was all about logos, and we looked at using those restaurant elements. You can do the same here. So I'm not going to repeat the bits about VecTZ and vector stock. Go and look at that session again. Go download your elements that you would want to use for your designs. All right, now Inscape can be downloaded from inscape.org if you go to that address. And it will open the website. And you'll notice here at the top, you can click on download to go and download the software, and you can then install it. Interestingly enough as well, they do have under your Learn, they have firstly the manual for the whole of Inscape. So there you can go and download the manual. There's extra books as well that you can go and read up about. And then there is tutorials. And under tutorials, you'll find a lot of tutorials about how the program works, so you can sort of jump directly into advanced tutorials, and it will show you a bunch of tricks and how to work better and so forth. There's also on the site some video tutorials for you. So if you were to go to Learn and video tutorials, then it will explain to you where you can find some very good video tutorials for Inscape. Okay, so if I were to open Inscape, I'm going to use the sort of example files that we gave you below this video, or that you downloaded in the beginning, and it's 1.9 free software alternative Inscape. And in here, I have some of the restaurant elements that we used previously. Interestingly enough as well, Inscape can open an Illustrator file, but when it does, it converts it to SVG. And SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphic. All right, so remember, both Illustrator and Inscape is vector programs. So when you work with these programs, you are manipulating vectors. Okay, even though in the beginning we might be using it to combine elements from other files, in the end, you would want to have perfect control over manipulating those elements. So if you open Inscape the first time, this is what the program would look like. And I want you to just go and explore and see what you can come up with here. And you'll notice with Inscape, when you scroll or when you hold your mouse over any of these buttons, then it will tell you exactly what they do. You'll recognize some of these tools is quite similar to what you had in Illustrator. Over on the right-hand side, for my sort of students that used to work on freehand almost 15 years ago, back when Macromedia existed, you'll recognize some of these. They've brought these node controls in from freehand, or what was similar to freehand. Okay, if you want to start a new document, you'd go to File, New, and you can start a whole new canvas. Right, again, also you can go to File, Open, and you can open any Illustrator file or otherwise a scalable vector file that you might have saved inside of Inscape. Remember, Inscape also has its open format, so what we call the open files. So if you're working on something and you do want to come back and change those elements, then save it in its native format. All right, I'm going to open the Illustrator file for restaurant elements. And you'll see that it's seeing it as a PDF import, which is fine. You can just click on OK. And it will open the file for us. And let me just maximize this. And there's some of the elements that you saw before when we were doing this restaurant brand. Again, you can zoom into this document by using your zoom tool. And you can zoom forward and backwards to see the elements better, or to zoom out to see the full page. You'll notice as well that if you click on an element, it doesn't always just pick up that element. It depends on how it was imported from the other file. So sometimes you have to click a few times in order to get to the element that you might want to move. Okay, and maybe we want to get in this element we want to get the fork out. If we're creating another logo, or maybe we want to move the fish's head over here to another canvas. So you'll see you can pick up any of them and you can manipulate them. What you'll also notice is if you click an element you double click, then it goes to this node tool, which gives you control over each of the nodes. And you'll remember this from Illustrator, how we use node points to actually redraw shapes. And there at the top you can see you've got a lot of options for your node manipulation. You'll also notice again, like in Illustrator, always go back to your black arrow to move an element. And as you click through these tools at the top, you'll notice that that property bar will change to show you the options for that specific tool. Okay, so it's very similar to the Adobe programs. If you want to create text, for instance, you take your text tool, you click, you create your text and select it. And then of course in the top, in your property bar, there's all your fonts that you can choose from. Okay, so quite similar. If you're going to prefer to work with this, then just have a play around. Go look at the tutorials on the site. Go look at the tutorials on YouTube. And you know, the best way I've found to learn a piece of software is just to really go and play. You know, just try each button out and see what they do, and next one, and you know, in that way you learn quite quickly just what that software is about and what it's capable of. You'll notice as well in Inscape you've got all these colors here at the bottom, and look at that, it just goes on and on and on and on. So you do have all these swatches available to you immediately to work and to use in your documents. Okay, also here on the side where it says swatches, you can click on this little arrow and there's a lot of additional colors that you can load, that you can work with inside of Inscape. Okay, now lastly, remember, if you want to save your file in Inscape, you would use Save As, and you would save it as an Inscape SVG. Okay, then you can work with it again, and that would be your open file. Also, if you want to export it and now maybe send it to print, then you can use this Save As command, and you'll notice on the fly out there is a lot of file formats that Inscape can do. Inscape in its own right is an incredible program, so do go play around with this. There's even HTML5 canvas. You can save it out as a PDF, you can save it out as SVG or JPEG, and so on. Okay, so maybe just as a test for yourself, if you're going to prefer to work in this rather than Illustrator, then use these elements and come up with a little restaurant logo like we did in the previous example. Okay, in Inscape as well, if you do want to create additional canvases for your business card and for your poster, you will have to do so in a new document. Okay. Also, if you do open a new document, you'll have to go to Document Properties, and there's all the presets for the different sizes that you might want to use. There's business card, there is A4 and A3 and all of those different sizes. You can also set up guides and grids and so forth. All right, so that's Inscape in a very short nutshell. I would recommend in any case playing with it, seeing that it is a free piece of software. So go out and go see what this tool can do. All right, I will see you again soon.